Good Shabbos, and welcome to another edition of the Kofman Parsha. This week in Parsha Toldot, we are going to talk about the conflicts between brothers, Esau and Yaakov. We hope you enjoy, and remember to like and subscribe.
Hey everybody, it is Abby here. Today I'll be telling you a lesson I use every day of my life. And when I say every day, I mean this is something that I learned many years ago and still affects me to this day. In this week's Parsha, we get the bracha of the Bechor. We get the second that Yaakov walked into the room with Yitzhak and is pretended to be Esau to get the blessing. So, why is this part so important? When we get told he walked in, a sense of humbleness, of goodness, of kindness come in with him, a aura, the energy, and Yitzhak could feel it, and he gets the bracha and leave, and then Esau walk in the room, and it's a total opposite. It's the sense of darkness, sin, the pits of evilness. How did this affect us though? When I walk into the room, I don't feel the pits of evilness. But what I'm trying to say is when you walk into a room, you make an impression. And you want to give an impression that give a Kiddush Hashem. You want to walk in and people to be like, wow, look at how that person's walking. Look at how humble they look. Look at how much they walk with grace. God made us in his image. We have so much potential. And we don't want to walk into a room and people to see us being rude, disrespectful, even so much more. So next time you walk into a room, try to be like Yaakov and not like Esau. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone. This week we're diving into the Torah portion, Toldot, which tells the intense story of twin brothers, Jacob and Esau. It's more than just a family feud. It's a battle that happens inside all of us. The conflict between the two is that they're opposites. Esau was a skilled hunter, totally focused on the material and physical world. Jacob was a thoughtful man who focused on spiritual growth. The most famous example of their differences is when Esau comes home famished and sells his birthright, his inheritance, to Jacob for a bowl of lentil soup. He chooses instant physical satisfaction over lasting divine legacy. This story illustrates the eternal struggle between our spiritual selves, represented by Jacob, and our physical drive, represented by Esau. This lesson is that our physical self is meant to serve our spiritual one. Our bodies, our work, our pleasure are not the goals in life. They are the tools that help us meet a higher spiritual level. So here's a challenge for you this week. Bring your intentions in everyday life to something more spiritual. Before you eat, exercise, do something, pause and ask, how will this act let me serve a greater spiritual goal? By doing this, you're turning the mundane into a spiritual thing. Thank you and good Shabbos.
Hi everyone, Len Kofman here. I don't know if anyone else felt this way, but when I read this week's Parsha, I always feel that Yitzhak gets a bit of a bad rap. He's presented as almost gullible and naive. He doesn't see Esau's flaws and wants to give Esau a bracha. Why? Because he likes the food that Esau brings. On the other hand, Rivka sees that Yaakov is holy and creates a whole plan that basically ends up with Yaakov getting the bracha. The Malbim, though, presents a different read and gives us a bit more of an understanding of what Yitzhak's thoughts were. The Malbim says that Yitzhak looked and saw that Yaakov was a bit weaker, but on the other hand was unbelievably holy. And what he was hoping for was that Esau could become the protector of the family. Esau could worry about the material things, and Yaakov could really focus on spirituality and holiness. He was really hoping the words that the Malbim used was kind of like the rest of the nation of Israel became with the Levim, where the Levim were responsible for the spirituality of the entire people. Now, this didn't happen, and by no means am I saying that Rivka and Yaakov were wrong in what they did, but if you read the rest of the story, and you read the rest of what happened with Yaakov, you kind of understand where Yitzhak was coming from. A lot of Yaakov's problems in the remainder of his life had to deal with materiality. You have stories of him working for many, many years. You have a discussion about his wages being changed, of Lavan cheating him, and then the idea of money becomes more of a consideration throughout the generation. Yosef ends up getting sold, and at the end of the story, there's the whole thing with the money appearing in the brothers' bags. Maybe what Yitzhak was thinking was that what could Yaakov have accomplished if he didn't have to worry about that? If he could really have spent his entire life focusing on, again, holiness, spirituality, and elevating those around him instead of being brought to have to deal with everything. Now, we know Yaakov was very successful, but it is an interesting question, an interesting thought experience. If everyone could have lived up to their potential, if Esau could have matured in the way that Yitzhak was hoping, what would the world have been like? Thank you, and have a great Shabbos.